Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Your Excellencies, Mr. President of the General Assembly, Mr. Secretary General, Honorable Permanent Representatives and Observers, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. First and foremost, I wish to offer my sincere apologies for not being able to attend this crucial event in person today due to prior commitments. I wish to commend the strong and enduring partnership between the Office of the Special Advisor on Africa and the Permanent Observer Mission of the African Union to the United Nations for the successful organization of the Africa Dialogue Series, which culminates today in this high-level political dialogue, now in its 5th year, as well as the focus on the African Union annual theme. This exemplary cooperation reflects a concrete example of the deepening cooperation between the African Union and the United Nations across key areas of our shared commitment to advancing Africa's development agenda and ensuring that African perspectives are meaningfully reflected in global policy discussions. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in line with Assembly's Decision 884, the African Union has declared 2025 as the Year of Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparations, with a clear roadmap for implementation. This represents a turning point in the global recognition of historical injustices, repair of the harm caused by the collective construction of a more just, inclusive, and sustainable future. Today's dialogue contributes to our efforts grounded not only in the African Union's Assembly decisions, but also the Accra Declaration on Reparations and Racial Healing, and the United Nations system commitments, including through the International Decade for People of African Descent. Through this team, African leaders reaffirm the deep Pan-African foundations that bind Africa and its diaspora through shared history, culture, and struggle. In this spirit, we underscore that reparations, including restitution, compensation, and reparatory justice for the transatlantic slave trade, colonialism, apartheid, and systemic racism, are essential for healing, restoring dignity, and addressing the long-standing socio-economic harm endured by Africans and people of African descent. It is important to further emphasize that achieving justice requires reforming global structures, in particular the international financial architecture and the United Nations Security Council, to redress historic and ongoing inequalities rooted in neocolonialism. Cultural restitution is equally central to this agenda, and we fully support ongoing African-led processes to return rooted cultural heritage and human remains. We all recognize that there can be no sustainable development without peace, stability, and justice. This year's theme calls for the recognition of the need to repair centuries of harm, enslavement, economic exploitation, cultural dispossession, and systemic exclusion. This justice is embodied in several urgent calls to action. A call for climate justice. Our continent, which contributes less than 3% of global emissions, suffers disproportionately from the consequences of climate change. The restoration of degraded ecosystems and the climate resilience of African communities must be regarded as reparations, not merely development assistance. A call for trade and economic sovereignty. Africa will only unlock its full economic potential if the global trade system becomes just and equitable, if the African Continental Free Trade Area is fully implemented, and if South-South cooperation, in particular with the Caribbean and the African diaspora, is scaled up. A call for educational and technological justice. We must invest in Afro-descendant youth and women, particularly in artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and emerging technologies. This is a way to restore what was taken: our knowledge system, our languages, and our intellectual heritage. A call to strengthen Afro-diaspora solidarity, to empower Afro-descendant women, and to protect and celebrate our living global legacy, a legacy that stretches from the Nile to Bahia, from Havana to Port-au-Prince. Excellencies, what we call reparations today is in truth a moral duty of humanity to itself. I hope that this high-level dialogue will lead to a strong and ambitious call to action, one that translates our shared political commitments into concrete, measurable steps aligned with the goals of Agenda 2063 and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We call on all member states, African Union organs, regional economic communities, and partners to actively support and resource this flagship initiative, ensuring that the pursuit of reparatory justice remains at the heart of Africa's development and global advocacy efforts. Africa stands ready to lead alongside its diaspora and international partners on this path towards reparative justice. It asks only one thing, that the world walk alongside us with resolve, with urgency, and with courage. I thank you for your attention and wish you fruitful deliberations as well as a wonderful Africa Day celebration later this evening. Thank you.